Welcome to Dave's Cards and Sports Games. I'm Dave. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dave's Cards and Sports Games. Once again, I am Dave. We are doing the Donruss 1986 set, Part 2. And I opened up a bunch of packs already. And what happens in Donruss, we'll show you what happens. I'll just do it right here. This is how they do their sets. They wrap them up pretty nice. Cards are pretty centered. And you have to cut them apart. When you find your cutter, you have to go kind of between the seal there. And then you have to rip it open. And it kind of comes apart pretty good. Just got to remember how to do it again. There it is. Then it comes apart like that. You pull your cards out, and there you go. And that'll be another set. And you get 12 packets of 55 cards in a box, or in the set. The set looks like this. And back in the 80s, Topps had the right for gum. So every other company had to put something else in. And Donruss put puzzle pieces in. Fleer put stickers in. And Upper Deck, when they came out, put holograms in. And Score also was a baseball manufacturer. I think in 88 they became out there. And they put trivia questions in. Baseball trivia questions in every pack. So I have one more to cut open here, and we'll get going on to part 2 of the video. And also, part 2, you are the lucky ones, because you watch part 2, you also get to see a few special sets that Donruss made. They made a set called The Rookies, which had all the rookie cards, and also the highlight set. We'll look at that as well in this video on Dave's Cards and Sports Games. Part 1 had a lot of good players, Ryan and Carew and Reggie and Canseco and Fred McGriff. We'll see how many Hall of Famers are in Part 2. Gorman Thomas, Tom Filer, Dave Engel. I try to say all the names, and I try to say all the names correctly. Tom Henke, Pete Filson. That's a nice looking picture there. Ivan Calderon, Clint Hurdle, Billy Hatcher, Terry Forster. I believe Terry Forster is who got into it with Dave Letterman. Dave Letterman called him a tub of goo. It's a lot heavier than 220. Brad Wellman, Bob Walk, Jerry Davis, Tony Perez, Hall of Famer, Don Carmen, Jeff Calhoun, Tito Landrum, Jerry Hairston, Rupert Jones, Mike Mason, Tom Burke, Mike Mason. I watched this guy pitch after he was done with his major league career. It's from the Twin Cities. Didn't realize that he ended up playing for Druck Upholstery Town Ball team after playing in the major leagues and winning 18 games. That's pretty cool. Didn't realize that was him. Tim Burke, Steve Kiefer, might be Kiefer, Mike Jones, Enos Cabell, Dan Pasqua, Steve Crawford, Alejandro Sanchez, Paul Householder, Jim Dwyer, Andy Van Slyke, George Frazier, Denny Gonzalez. That looks kind of weird. Len Barker, Ted Power. Len Barker pitched a perfect game. Ted Power, Gary Maddox, Tim Stoddard, Alan Ashby, Tim Hullett, Bill Stein, Jim Slayton, Terry Francona, Bruce Bocci, Lonnie Smith, Jerry Willard, Tom Niedenfuer. I think he's from Minnesota too. He was born in Minnesota. Scott Bradley, Mike Easler, the Hitman, Randy O'Neill, Jamie Kokenauer, Don Asse, Tim Laudner, Doyle Alexander, Al Cowens. He was a good player for the Royals. Davey Lopes, Dave LaPointe, and Jim Morrison from the Doors. Ramon Romero, Len Matusik, Mark Clear, Brian Fisher. Frank Tanana, great career. Bill Wegman. At this point in his career, he had 147 wins, 144 losses. Bill Wegman, Al Pardo, John Agosto, John Franco, Roy Smalley, Al Oliver, AO, Harold Reynolds. He's on the Baseball Network right now. Thad Bosley, Lenny Dykstra, Randy Reddy, Greg Minton, Bill Allman, Greg Nettles. Remember, not Craig Nettles. It's Greg with a G. Darren Dalton, Mike Scott, fantastic pitcher for the Houston Astros. Jeff Lottie, Kirk McCaskill, Pete Vukovich, Gary Renicky, like the happy bird. Dave Bergman, Kenny Landreau. He had a long hitting streak, one of the longer hitting streaks in American League history. 30-game hitting streak in 1980, longest in majors since 2 years earlier, 78. It just doesn't seem right. All right, Andre Robertson, Roy Smith, Dusty Baker, Lynn Jones, Greg Harris. Wonderful getting more Hall of Famers. Chris Welch, Randy St. Clair, Tim Burtsis, Dave Leeper, Carmen Castillo, Bob Welch, Bob Shirley, Glenn Hoffman, Bob Melvin, Ed Romero, Danny Martinez, Gary Lucas, Brian Little, Jerry Narin, Jim Penkovitz, Ivan Jesus, Dave Rucker, Buddy Bell, always my favorite player growing up. I like the logo. I like the big logo on that. This is a cool design. I like that. You can read the name, you see the position, team logo, nice big picture. That was Jerry Reister, Atlee Hammaker, Joe Orsulak, Jeff Dedman, Scott Sanderson, and Rick Gagalera. He was a starter and a reliever in his career. And that's what you get. You get the Hank Aaron, Dave Van Gorder, Tom Foley, Kevin Bass, Brian Harper. I hope we get at least a Hall of Famer per pack here. Joe Dessa, do not remember him. And that's probably why I don't remember him. He did have 2 homers. Craig Gerber, Steve Bushell, Floyd Yeomans, Tony Phillips, Dan Quisenberry, they called him Q, Steve Sachs, Billy Sample, Al Nipper, Tom Brookins, Ray Sirridge, Wayne Gross, Steve Braun, that's Ryan Braun's dad, Ron Meredith, that's Don Meredith's son. I made that up. Rick Ruschel, Ken Obergfell, Bo Diaz. We're looking for a Hall of Famer in this pack. Kevin Gross, Kurt Bevacqua. He blew the biggest bubble in the major leagues back in the 1972 bubble blowing contest. Phil Garner, Ron Kittle. He had a couple good years as a power hitter and then fizzled out. That was probably the 3 years right there before he started to fizzle. Did he ever have 100 RBIs? 100 is rookie year. I think he was Rookie of the Year. Alan Bannister, Jack Howell, Mitch Webster, Jose, blame it on Rio. Hal McRae, fantastic hitter. Tony Bernazard, Steve Yeager, Rich Bordy, Bruce Hurst, Bill Scherer, Billy Robideau, Tippy Martinez. I think we already saw Denny Martinez in here. Frank Euphemia, Cecil Fielder. Is he in the Hall? Don't know if he's in the Hall or not. I don't think he is. Carl Best, Steve Engel, Vida Blue. There's a Hall of Famer. Junior Ortiz, Milt Thompson, Joe Price, Ed Wojna, Kurt Kepshire, Louis Aguayo, John Miserock, Gene Nelson, Dwayne Walker, John Candelaria, UL Washington, Rob Piccolo, and John Wathen. Boy, the Royals have had some good catchers throughout the years. 2 stacks left, then we get to the good stuff. Buddy Biancalata, Mookie Wilson, Dwayne Henry, another Hank Aaron, because that's the actual number it's supposed to be in. Joe Niekro, Pat Clements, Brad Haven, Steve Lombardozzi. His son played for the Nationals a few years back. Ray Knight, Pat Perry, Carlos Ponce, Bill Swaggerty, Larry Herndon, Franklin Stubbs, Marty Bystrom, Mike Hargrove, Steve Ontiveros, Steve Farr. As you know, when you look at a top set, they have all the subsets and every goofy thing in there, like boyhood photos of the stars and the leader cards. Donruss just gets to it with all the pictures. I think they have a couple of goofy cards, and that's about it. Dickie Knowles, Jeff Russell, Bill Lasky. They did have the Diamond Kings in the first set, but they did that every year. Stan Javier, Mark Gubiza, Jamie Easterly, Gilberto Reyes, another guy I don't know. Look at this. They made a card of him, and he had one at-bat the year before, and a walk and a strikeout. They made a baseball card of that guy. Del Negro, Hall of Famer. Steve Lyons, Mike Laga, Tim Leary, Mike Flanagan, Bert Roberge. I thought we had a Roberge. Reed Nichols, Al Holland, Dickie Thon, Bill Campbell, long-time player. Played for the Twins, the Red Sox, Cubs, Phillies, Cardinals. Played for everybody. Had 123 saves. Rick Shue, Tom Reynolds, Mario Ramirez with the Ralph Kroc on the sleeve. He died that year from McDonald's. Joe Youngblood, Sid Bream, Zane Smith, Dick Ruthven. Kroc owned the Padres. Ron Darling, another fantastic pitcher. Billy Swift, Jimmy Key, another good pitcher. Ron Washington, former coach of the Rangers and A's. Ernie Witt, Greg Gagne, Darnell Coles, Danny Heap, Warren Brewstar, Bruce Benedict, Chris Brown, R.J. Reynolds, and Bruce Bochy. Can't remember if it's Bochy or Bochy. And here we go with the checklist, so we don't care about that. And King of the Kings, Pete Rose, gets his own special Diamond King card. Calvin Schiraldi, Fleet Feet. Look at that. Coleman and McGee. Max Venable, Bert Behome Blyleven, Hall of Famer. Cesar Cedeno, he was a great hitter. Billy Bean, Jesse Orozco, the guy played forever. Knuckle Brothers, Joe and Phil Necro. Pete Rose, tie-breaking hit. John Shelby. Mike Brown, I think that's it for the oddball cards. I hardly have any. Mike Brown, Dan Dreesen, Garth Orge, Cliff Johnson, Bobby Meacham, Ed Vandenberg, Bob Ojeda, Ken Schramm, Mike Felder, Roger Mason, Rudy Law, Ed Lynch, Mark Funderburk. He was supposed to be a power hitter for the Twins, and he never did anything. Had a good start and faded fast after that. Roger McDowell, good pitcher. Jack Lazorko, Terry Harper, Dennis Lamp, Sid Fernandez. You're watching Dave's Cards and Sports Games of the 1986 Donruss Complete Set. Also, the rookies and highlights coming up. Joel Davis, Charles Hudson, Gary Laval, Tim Lawler, Dave Stewart. Boy, he could pitch. Chris Chambliss, Bill Madlock, Mad Dog, Bruce Keeson, Johnny Grubb, Mark Sullivan, Jay Baller, Fred Tolliver, Don Sutton, Hall of Famer, Neil Allen, Tom Seaver, Hall of Famer, Joe Cowley, Alan Wiggins, and Rance Mullenix. Not Lance, but Rance. All right, let's get to the rookies. And once again, they do the same thing here. You get one of these. Hey, if I don't like the expectations, I just have to ask for Betty or Doris, and I can get a new pack. These are all the rookies now in 1986 that started the season after the initial set of cards were made. So I'm going to try to cut this one a little harder to cut open. There we go. All right. And once again, of course, you get another Hank Aaron. This is a Hank Aaron puzzle. So if you like Hank Aaron, you can put his puzzle together too. Here we go. These are all the rookies in 1986 that came out after the set was released. So let's look at the rookies. Wally Joyner. Great player. I used to like Wally. They called the Wally World in Anaheim and where he played. The Los Angeles Angels. Don't know if they're called the Anaheim Angels yet. Tracy Jones. Once again, you get the sunburnt pit card. Alan Anderson, he led the league in ERA one year, but he backed into it. He was supposed to pitch the final day, and a pitcher that was below him in the standings with a lower ERA ended up giving up some runs. So Anderson won the ERA, and he elected not to pitch. Not the way Ted Williams would do it, but that's how he did it. Ed Correa, Reggie Williams, Charlie Kerfeld, Andres Galarraga. So it looks like these are traded cards, too, if the guys were traded. Oh, no, that's Andres Galarraga's rookie card. Bob Tewksbury. So you'll probably get to see a card in here, too, of Jose Canseco. This is all the rookies. The rated rookies were in the first set. Now the real rookies are here. Al Newman, former Minnesota Twin, won a World Series. Andres Thomas. Barry Bonds. How about that? Barry Bonds rookie card right there on Dave's Cards and Sports Games. Juan Nieves, Mark Eichhorn, Dan Plesac, Corey Snyder, Kelly Gruber, Kevin Mitchell. Boy, he could hit the long ball. Steve Lombardozzi, Mitch Williams. He won a World Series with the Phillies. John Cerruti, Todd Worrell, Jose Canseco, Pete Incaviglia. Boy, he could hit the long ball. Jose Guzman, Scott Bales, Greg Matthews, Eric King, Paul Ossenmacher, Jeff Sellers, Bobby Bonilla, Doug Drabeck, Will the Thrill Clark, rookie card. Rip Roberts. This is a pretty cool set. Jim DeShays, Mike Lavalier, Scott Bankhead, Dale Swaim, Bo Jackson on Dave's Cards and Sports Games. Rob Thompson, Eric Plunk, Bill Bath, John, I am not a crook, Andy Allenson, Mark Portugal, Danny Tartable, Bob Kipper, Gene Walter, Ray Canones, Bobby Witt, Bill Mooneyham, John Cangelosi, Ruben High Sierra, Rob Woodward, Ed Hearn, Joel McKeon, and the checklist. Excuse me. Now let's do, still wrapped up, the highlights. The 1986 highlights. Let's see what's going on here. And once again, you get another Hank Aaron. It's another Hank Aaron puzzle and a highlight checklist. Let's see what the highlights were. Rookie of the Year, Jose Canseco. Todd Worrell, Rookie of the Year. Don Mattingly, all-time Yankee record for hits and doubles. Dave Righetti shatters the save mark. Let's see what it was. .46 saves. John Cangelosi, steals by a rookie. Player of the month in September was Steve Sachs. In Kruko, pitcher of the month. Don Mattingly, player of the month. Bruce Hurst, pitcher of the month. Mike Scott has a no-hitter for the Astros to win the division. Jim DeShays, Major League strikeout record. What is that? Oh, first 8 batters of the game he struck out. That's incredible. First no-hitter in 2 years, Joe Cowley of the Sox. Bo Jackson, longest homer ever in Royal Stadium. 475 feet. Joe Carter. Dale Murphy, NL Player of the Month. Bill Gullickson, NL Pitcher of the Month. Doug DeCinces, once again, we're in August. There's the Player of the Month and the Pitcher of the Month in the AL. Both, looks like the Angels had a good year. Juan Samuel records 3rd quadruple double. Oh, 10 homers, 10 triples, over 10 doubles, and stolen bases. That's a cool stat. They don't do that anymore. Mike Schmidt passes DiMaggio record. 880 extra base hits. Steve Carlton, lefty, pitched his 400 strikeout. Willie McCovey, Hall of Fame inductee. Ernie Lombardi, Hall of Fame inductee. Bobby Dorr, Hall of Fame inductee. Bert Blyholm is in the Hall of Fame, and he had his 3,000 strikeout. Eric Davis, NL Player of the Month for the NL, and Worrell was the Pitcher of the Month. Scott Fletcher was the Player of the Month, and Jack Morris the Pitcher of the Month. Roger Clemens, All-Star MVP. Fernando Valenzuela, Darryl Strawberry. Wally Joyner, starting All-Star game as a rookie. Bob Horner hits 4 homers in a game. Kevin Bass, now we're to June, Player of the Month and Pitcher of the Month. Shows the Pitcher of the Month batting. Ken Herbeck, Player of the Month. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Let's see what he did. Being from Minnesota, we like to see twins on some cards. Yeah, it is true. He had to play with Mattingly and Eddie Murray every year. Roger Clemens, Pitcher of the Month. And look at Roger Clemens starts the season 14-0. Don Sutton, 300th win. Hubie Brooks, the NL Player of the Month in May. Would go with Reardon. Looks like the Expos had a good... Love that hat. Wade Boggs, Player of the Month. And then Don Ace, the Pitcher of the Month in May. Wade Boggs, first 5-hit game of career. Wonder if he hit any more. Reggie Jackson eclipsed Mantle's home run record. What was the record? Oh, he passed Mantle in the standings. Let's get to April. NL, Johnny Ray, Dwight Gooden. Then the American League, Kirby Puckett. And Roger Clemens. That is funny. In his first 2 years for Kirby Puckett, he had a total of 4 homers. But the first month of 86, he had 8 homers in 21 games. 400 batting average. That's amazing. And Roger Clemens just dominated. Pitcher of the Month. Roger, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14... 20 strikeout game. Struck out 20 Mariners. Mike Schmidt, Phillies RBI leader. George Brett, all-time hit leader for the Royals. Jose, blaming on Rio, milestone for strikeouts. And Will Clark, homers in his first at-bat. Very cool stuff. You just looked at the highlights of 1986. And you also got to see... I wonder if the highlights went to the end of the year. That's every highlight for the end of 86. Then you get all the rookies, which is cool. We saw Barry Bonds in here somewhere. Very cool. And one of my favorites was everybody's favorite at that time. Everybody salivated when they got a Bo Jackson card. Look at that neck. And then, once again, all the regular cards in the stacks of 55 that you get in the box of Donruss. That's how they came. At least they came in numerical order. Make it easier for me to put in sleeves. Hope you're having a great day. And thanks for watching Dave's Cards and Sports Games. Have a pleasant, good day.